The paradox of choice in bodybuilding. So, the more options we have, the worse off we seem to be. And actually, the less choices and the less options we have, the better off we seem to be. Now, this sounds a bit counterintuitive. It doesn't really make sense. You know, you're probably thinking, well, hold on, how does that make sense? Surely, the more choices I have, right, the more things I can choose from, the better life will be, right? The more chance it will be that I'll find something that I like, the more chance there'll be that I'll find something that fits, or someone that I'm compatible with, or something that's just right and just hits the spot, right? And surely, the less choice we have, the more restricted we are, the less freedom we have, and the less likely it is that we find just the right thing, just the right one. Well, this is what the paradox of choice actually is. It says that there seems to be a sweet spot where if we have absolutely no choice at all, then we're not happy. If we have a little bit of choice and a few options, we're happy. And this is the sweet spot. But any more options after that, and our happiness and satisfaction actually decreases. Let me give a YouTube example, right? An example we'll all understand. If you were to load up YouTube and there was only one YouTube channel you could watch every single time you load up YouTube, you wouldn't be very happy. But if you were to load up YouTube and there was a handful of channels you could watch, maybe, 4 or 5 of your favorite creators, then you'd be the most happy, the most satisfied. But any more after that, if you could watch every single YouTube channel in existence and every single video that channel has ever posted, which is the current state of our lives, then your happiness and satisfaction actually decreases. And so in this video, I'm going to explain the 3 reasons why more choice actually decreases our welfare and our happiness. And then I'm going to relate it to bodybuilding. So I'm going to put it in a bodybuilding context, in a sort of a building muscle, hitting the gym, going to the weight room type context, because that is what my channel is about. So let's start with the first reason why we are worse off when we have more choices. Reason number 1, something called paralysis by analysis. I'm sure you've experienced it before, but this is where when you have too many options to choose from, you procrastinate and put off actually making a choice. It's much easier to choose between A or B than between A or Z. And so in a bodybuilding context, a simple example of this that I'm sure we're all guilty to is choosing the best split. Or another example, like writing up your workouts. When it comes to writing up your workouts, because there's so many different exercises you could do for the same muscle, and there's so many different exercise orders you can play with, and so many different splits you can choose from, either the bro split or the push-pull legs, or the push-pull legs rest, upper lower, so many different splits to choose from, you're not sure which one to choose, and you might end up putting off even going to the gym, even committing to a split, even writing up your program. There's so much to choose from that you just procrastinate and you might put it off. Reason number 2 now. When we have so many options, we become less satisfied with the option we choose because of something called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost states that when you choose to do something, you are choosing to not do other things. And this is how it causes a problem, right? So let's actually give an example. So let's say you've bought a protein powder. If you're not perfectly satisfied with that protein powder to a T, it's easy to imagine that other protein powders could have been better. If you're not completely satisfied with your choice, it's easy to imagine that the attractive features of the alternative choices that you've rejected may have been better. And it's that imagination of the other things that may have been better that decrease your satisfaction with your chosen option, even if your chosen option is good enough. So back to the protein powder example. Let's say you buy a protein powder that's 9 out of 10. It's good, bro. It's good. You like it. It's good enough. But there's just something a little bit off with it. It's a little bit lumpy, or whatever the case may be. Because when you were shopping for protein powder, there was a bunch of different flavors you could have chosen from a bunch of different brands, and you could have either bought it off Amazon or off someone's Instagram bio link, and all these different choices of flavors and brands and everything else. You can't help but be dissatisfied with your 9 out of 10 protein powder because you're imagining, oh damn, maybe if I bought that other flavor or from that other brand, it would have just been better. And so when we have so many options, we become less satisfied with the option we choose because we can't help but think, damn, could that other option have been better? Or maybe that other option, or maybe that other one could have been better. Now, if we just had a smaller pool of options to choose from, let's say there was only 5 different protein powders you could have chosen from, and you pick one, you're not going to be that bummed out if it's not 10 out of 10, because you're not going to feel like you missed out. You're not going to feel like there was a cost for you choosing this one particular, because all you done was rejected 4 others. But if you choose a protein powder from a choice of 50 others, you can't help but think, damn, this one I chose, is good enough, but I rejected another 49. Like, surely one of those 49 would have been perfect for me, right? And this actually nicely ties us into reason 3 why too many options are bad for us. And reason 3 is because of something called the escalation of expectations. Because there's so many different things to choose from, our expectation of the thing we're going after increases. So back to the protein powder example, because there's so many different ones to choose from, we are expecting the perfect one. And when we don't get the perfect one, we're dissatisfied. Let me give another example. Let's say YouTube, when it comes to choosing what YouTube video you want to watch. Because there's so many different YouTube videos about the exact same topic, when you watch a YouTube video that doesn't quite satisfy you, like let's say the creator doesn't quite answer the question you're after, or doesn't really give you the information you're looking for, you're dissatisfied. Simple as that. Your expectations are so high because there's so many options to choose from, so many different videos, that you're just going to think, okay, yeah, that video was good, but maybe if I watched the other guy's video, it would have been just right. And so you become dissatisfied with your choice, your happiness decreases, and you kind of watch these videos thinking like, yeah, that was good, but maybe it could have been better. Maybe it could have been better. Maybe if I clicked the other one, I would have spent my time more wisely. And I'm guilty of all of these. Like, I'm making this video saying like you, but really it's me. I get this all the time. Any single time I load up YouTube, if I watch a self-improvement video, I can't help but think, oh damn, if I watch maybe that other guy's self-improvement video, I'd be a better man, you know, I would have learnt more. Or anytime I load up YouTube and I watch, let's say, UFC highlights, I can't help but think, oh damn, maybe I should be watching self-improvement videos, or maybe I should be watching a bodybuilding video, or maybe I should be watching a tutorial on how to cook better so I can improve the meals I eat, or something like that. Because there's so many options to choose from, I can't help but think, damn, maybe I should have been choosing something else. And so to summarize the paradox of choice, we can just summarize it like this, right? When we have too many choices, even if the choices we make are good enough, we can't help but imagine what we could have potentially had if we maybe made a different choice. And this imagining and thinking of what we could have had if we made a different choice decreases our satisfaction and our happiness. So how does all of this relate to bodybuilding? Well, this is what I found, right? I found that when it comes to being in the gym, when we have so many choices, we're less likely to make things work when we hit a tough spot. We're less likely to find a solution and battle through it, and we're more likely to just switch to something else. An example of me is when I was using this Cybex leg press. I love this leg press. I bang on about it all the time. But there was a couple weeks where I had a bit of a rough spot with it, where it just wasn't progressing how it should. And as soon as I went through those couple weeks, I instantly just jumped to a different leg press. I went to the Gym Leco one. I thought, damn, there's something else I can use. Let me hop on the Gym Leco one. And I switched leg presses, and I probably didn't need to. Now, let me make something clear. There is a time and a place for exercise variety. There will come a time and place where you need to switch exercises. I'm all for that. I fully agree with that idea that, you know, eventually an exercise will run its course and you got to switch exercises. But in my particular case, because there were so many options, I switched exercises a bit too early. I didn't give it a good enough go before it ran its course. I didn't try hard enough to fix the problem before I switched to something else, right? My problem wasn't that the leg press isn't working anymore. It was that I wasn't sleeping well enough and I wasn't eating well enough. But I didn't even want to explore those options. I just thought, oh, leg press ain't working. There's another option. Let me go to something else, right? And this is actually where I can give a non-gym example to something that I'm sure we're all familiar with. Well, probably not you guys, because you guys actually, you know, you can talk to the other gender. But me, you know, I'm struggling here. Hinge, or just online dating example in general. When it comes to online dating, everyone knows, yeah, when you match with someone on online dating, you will chat to them for a bit, But as soon as a conversation hits a bit of a dry spot, you're not going to be there trying to make it work. You're not going to try, like, you know, dig a bit deeper and like ask her in a different way or something like that. You're not going to try. No, fuck that, bro. As soon as the convo hits a dry spot, you just log back onto the app and just scroll and find the next match, right? We don't try to make things work when we hit a tough spot, when we have so many options, because why should we, right? We might as well just choose something else. And in bodybuilding, I think we need to just give things a go a bit hard. Let's battle through the problems we're facing a little bit more for a little bit longer before we completely switch exercises or completely switch splits or completely switch what days of the week we train. Let's give it a bit harder of a battle. And this is what I'm really telling myself. Like, I'm telling myself, look, Omar, when you're doing a particular machine, just because you have 1 or 2 weeks where everything's a bit trash doesn't mean you should switch machines. Like, no, bro, battle it out a little bit more, a couple more weeks, and then if it's dead, cool, switch machines. But until then, just give it a bit of a harder go, Omar. Just try a little bit harder. And this is actually why I think that you'd probably make more gains if you train at a simplistic gym than if you were to train at something like Ultraflex Rotherham. Now, I ain't never been to Ultraflex, and I want to go one day, and I'm not shitting on that gym. It's a good gym. Well, I've never been, but it looks good. And I'm going to go one day and enjoy myself. But the thing with Ultraflex is they have so many different machines. There's like 20 different machines for each different body part that some people, and by some people I really mean me, if I was to go there, there's a high chance that I'll be machine hopping. I'll do a machine for a couple weeks, and then if it starts feeling shit, I'll just go to the next one. But I don't think that's how we should be facing these problems. I think we should stick with whatever we're doing for a longer period of time and battle through the suck a little bit more. And this is actually why I think that if you were to train in a simplistic gym where there's only like 1 or 2 machines per body part, you'd probably make more gains because you'd run the course of each machine and each exercise for a longer period of time. So that's just been my thoughts on how too much choice actually is a detriment to us, how it impairs us more than it empowers us. Look at me using these big words, right? I think when we have too many options to choose from, we're just more likely to, you know, exercise hop and program hop and machine hop. And when we have too many options, we're less likely to be satisfied with the option we chose, even if the option we chose is good enough, right? We're always going to be thinking, oh, maybe something else was better. Maybe I should have chosen that. You know, if you go on a date with a girl, you can't help but think, oh, maybe I should have gone on a date with another girl. And that's because you have so many options of girls to choose from. Like, bro, you're the man, bro. You get girls. Girls flock to you. They line up at your door. You're the man. Me, on the other hand, I don't get anything, right? So I can't relate. But that's what it is. It's opportunity cost. When you choose to do something, you're choosing not to do other things. And so if you had a little bit less options and less choices, you'd be more satisfied with the actual choice you make. And the actual choice you make, you'd give it a go for longer and try and figure out the problems and the solutions as opposed to just throwing in the towel and changing to something different. So that's been my thoughts and my analysis of the paradox of choice as it relates to bodybuilding, building muscle, hitting the gym, all that good stuff.